Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Bachelorette and Friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Bachelorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
This podcast contains sexual references, coarse language, and adult themes from the beginning and throughout. It is not recommended for listeners under the age of 15.
Hello and welcome to the Bachelorette and Friends. I'm your host, Carla Anita Matiazzo, and today's guest is an award-winning performer and writer and theatre maker, and her solo show at the moment is Happy Go Wrong. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Andi Snelling.
Woo! Is it okay to cheer myself on?
Of course it is.
You give such an amazing introduction, Carla.
Oh, thanks,
I swear
babe.
I could hear like game show theme music playing in the background. I felt like I was on The Price is Right, running down
We
the
need
stairs,
the lights.
and the audience are like,
We need the lights.
I'm in the Oprah show. I just want a car. Woo! Hello. I'm happy to be here.
Tell us about your show Happy Go Wrong, because it got amazing reviews, all that awesome stuff at the Adelaide Fringe. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into your love life.
Ooh, yeah, juicy stuff. Yeah, look, Happy Go Wrong is just a real soul show for me. It's a solo physical theatre odyssey about my epic journey navigating Lyme disease and coming back quite literally from the brink. Though the show isn't as heavy as that may sound, it's definitely a very heavy subject matter, but there's a lot of comedy and play and clowning, and there's roller skates.
That's so good. Roller skates are awesome.
I have a surprising amount of fun with a show that also goes to such dark places, which I think is part of the joy of doing it, is getting to be raw and vulnerable, put myself out there, and at the same time have good old-fashioned fun. It's a carnival of a show. It's what it feels like for me to do it.
Yeah, right.
Like, let's hit the carnival tonight, Andy. Here we go. Game on.
That's so good. And I imagine that the way in which it is presented, because I didn't get time to see it this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, you were busy doing your own show. It's a fair enough excuse.
I imagine with what you've just described there, it really invites people into such a serious topic through that circus, beautiful, creative, vibrant vibe, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. I think it gives a certain permission for people to allow themselves to go to some deep, dark places and reflect on their own humanity, their own mortality,
gorgeous.
you know. I think it does offer that permission, and certainly the incredible, mind-blowing feedback I've received and am still receiving, in fact, has just been a testament to that, I think. So I've had, a real dream run here in Adelaide, and so much so that I'm still here, even though I'm technically from Melbourne, but am I anymore?
Are you?
Not
Who
really.
knows?
No, apparently not.
So when did you get to Adelaide? Just before the Fringe started? Was it a plan to just come do the show and go back to Melbourne? What was the plan?
Yeah, it was certainly when I packed the car and drove over at the end of February, which, by the way, I was lucky to get over because the borders had just reopened when I was due to come over. So I did that little 5-day lockdown back in Vic.
That's right.
Yeah. But, certainly when I was packing my little Holden Barina, with my set and my summer clothes. No, I was not at all expecting that here we are about to hit May.
Yeah,
and
wow.
that I would be here and be a happy resident of
that's
the
nice.
suburb of Prospect, which I think is a wonderful name for my new home because it does feel full of prospects here.
That's really gorgeous. That's so nice. Everyone shits on Adelaide so much, and like to hear someone from Melbourne embrace it. It's quite delightful.
Well, I just think Adelaide is actually a really underappreciated city, and I just feel like, wow, the secret is definitely not out about Adelaide. People have no idea. And yeah, I think. Look, I love Melbourne, but I just think Melbourne's a bit too busy being the cool kid to realise what's just across the border.
It's interesting. I definitely found when I lived overseas and in Melbourne, I definitely appreciated Adelaide more. Because when you grow up in a place, you're just like, yeah, whatevs. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get into your love life, shall we? There was no segue there, but fuck it. We don't need a segue.
Sometimes love life is like that. Let's
It is.
get into it.
Let's jump in, baby.
My love
Let's
life
jump
has
in.
been like that lately.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
get into it.
Yeah, sweet. Fucking sick. Okay, so let's start at crushes. Can you remember as a kid any of your crushes, whether it be a celebrity or a classmate or
yes.
whatever?
Well, one has just come to me. Oh, Jonathan, what was his last name? Jonathan from Sequest DSV. Jonathan Brandis? Was that his name?
I don't know.
Jonathan, someone. I had a poster of him up on my wall. He was in a wetsuit in like a pool with a dolphin or something.
I'm vaguely remembering this TV show, right? This is a TV show,
Sequest
yeah?
DSV,
Yeah.
like an American thing. Yeah, he's in like a wetsuit. His hair's dripping wet. It was from like TV Week magazine or one of those, Dolly or something. Posters up on the wall. I was really into him.
Right.
In terms of celebs, if we can go that far. I also was like fully into Drazik from Heartbreak High at one point. But I was probably a little older at that point.
Yeah, right, sure.
Because he was like, he had like a piercing on his eyebrow.
Yeah. Back in the day, those eyebrow piercings.
He was cool.
Yeah.
He was like the sexy one. But also just... Yeah, I had crushes all the time. Like, I mean, I still do. I love that about being a human with a heart. Like,
that's really nicely said.
You
That's
can
lovely.
just kind of notice someone just across the street or whatever. Like, oh my God, at the moment, I'm hopeless. There's this bagel shop down the road from me. Which is, so I'm gluten-free and I found a bagel shop that does gluten-free bagels.
Oh my God.
First of all, I have a crush on bagels, so that's like,
Okay, that's an in. Yep,
so I'm there like every day. But secondly, once I discover there's a really hot guy who prepares my bagels.
Oh, hello.
Who spreads the butter.
Oh, stop it. That visual is just beautiful.
Who gives me extra halloumi. Who gave me a free chai the other day.
I think he likes you back.
Well, actually, it was because they'd run out of gluten-free bagels.
Oh,
that day,
bullshit.
and he felt sorry for me.
Bullshit.
But let's just go with he's into me, so he gave me a free chai. Yeah, he's so hot, and he's one of those guys that's like so cool. He always wears a beanie, even if it's too hot to wear a beanie. You know
Interesting.
what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
I'm just somehow attracted.
There's a story there. There's a story there, though. Like, if it's hot, like, there's a story.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And they always play really good tunes in that bagel place.
Where is this bagel place?
It's Frankly Bagels. I'm just like outing myself now.
I'm going to write this down.
What if
I'm
this
literally
guy,
writing this down.
What if this guy is an avid listener of your podcast? He's going to know.
Frankly Bagels at Prospect.
Frankly Bagels in Prospect. I do my morning run in the park opposite.
Yeah.
Oh. And I reward myself with a bagley.
Bagley.
Which no one says. And
so fucking excellent, Andy. So good.
Yeah, just enjoy the eye candy while I'm queuing up, sweating at 7 a.m. And,
right. So we all know who he is now. He always wears a beanie.
Yeah, he does. I've never seen him without it. And they play good tunes in there, so you walk in and you just feel
cool.
like bopping while you're waiting, and so you're in that that headspace.
Oh, they got you like straight away as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah.
Is it seductive music or is it bagel-themed music to get you thinking about bagels as you walk in the door?
Is there such a thing as like the bagel genre?
There could be.
I bet there is. Please, nobody listening, do that YouTube rabbit hole. Please don't go there. It's usually really like funky jazzy stuff. Which
Oh,
I
nice.
like.
Yeah.
But the other day it was like an old Frank Sinatra, and I was like, swoon.
Yeah, that's lovely. Maybe he chose the music that day because he knew you were coming. Maybe he did. You don't know.
He's like,
Maybe
I
he
did it my way. No.
Okay, let's go
I'm
back.
actually blushing right now.
Yeah, no, it's a bit cute. Let's go back to those crushes for a second and then we'll get on to Bagel Beanie Boy. So, from the crushes, what did you learn about yourself and your tastes maybe in men?
Well, certainly I didn't learn anything deep and profound, I don't think. In terms of my tastes, that's a really good question. Yeah, I do think I liked, because thinking of the whole Drazik thing, I think I liked usually the guy who was maybe a little more unconventional.
Interesting.
So not necessarily the clean-cut romantic lead type. Mm-hmm. I've always been into the one that's just maybe a little obscure or a little dark and broody or like got something going on.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's real good.
Yeah.
Did that even translate to bands? Because I know for some reason as a kid, like with Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all that shit, I remember being attracted to the oldest one in each of those groups. And I don't know what that says about me, but I was always like, okay, who's the oldest, most mature one out of this boys? And that's the one I like. I reckon that was my criteria. I remember thinking that. So like Hanson, the oldest brother,
who was not very old, really.
No,
yes.
but he, you know, nothing really, no offence to him. Look, I wasn't attracted to him, but I made the intellectual decision that I was because he was the oldest.
Oh, I see. I see. The pretend attraction, the faux attraction. Yeah, I get it. Look, I definitely went through a phase when I was like 15, 16 where I really got into like Placebo, Korn. Even like Marilyn Manson. I was into Nirvana, very into Kurt Cobain. It was just like this brief period where I think I pretended to be a goth. For about 1 year, I wore black, which people who know me well know you never see me in black.
No, I can't see you in black.
I'm known as the walking rainbow by my friends, so it's like, yeah, you can't imagine that. But when I was 15, there's just this 1 year where I just tried that on. I don't think it really suited me. But that was interesting, and I was into those kind of bands. But I think otherwise growing up, I did follow the trends a lot. Like I was totally into like the greatest hits, 1993. Mm-hmm. Like I was into all the pop stuff and all of that. Totally.
Let's go back to the walking rainbow thing. Okay, so people obviously don't know this, but we met before we even knew who each other was. So it was the last day of Fringe. And we were both at Grilled on Lower Rundle Street, and I think you passed me. I was waiting at the counter or something, and you were like,
just been to the loo.
Yeah, just been to the toilet.
I was just exiting the loo, and I passed you. You were queuing to order.
Yeah.
And I just did this thing that I do. I'm that person.
I do it too.
I do it too.
Yeah.
I just intuitively knew, right? And this is what I love about women too. I love this sort of little unspoken fashion connection you have with a stranger.
Yeah. But not all women do it though.
No, hashtag not all women.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I saw you and you were just wearing this fucking fantastic outfit. It was like this jumpsuit. And I was like, I had to tell you how fantastic
Yeah, it was a bit
looked.
nice. It was lovely. Yeah, it was
I had to tell
lovely.
you. And I came up
And
with-
you were rocking this amazing necklace. I remember this amazing, really brightly coloured necklace. So, you know, I think we connected over our rainbowness. I think that's what happened. And then I don't know how it happened after that, but we were like on social media.
You then sent me a message via Instagram.
Yeah.
Going, oh my God, you're the person who came up to me at Grill and complimented me on my outfit. And I was like, wow, we've been following each other on Instagram just as, like, through the performance.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, okay. I actually love that our first encounter we met through giving each other a compliment.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
And not knowing that we were soon to become pelsies.
Yeah, that's so nice. Like, what do they call that? There's a movie, The Holiday, where the old dude, the old screenwriter, calls that a meet cute. Have you seen the movie The Holiday?
No, but I've heard of a meet cute.
Yeah, so he describes it as like in a script of a romantic movie, maybe two people are going to a department store looking for pajamas, and she just wants the top and he just wants the bottom, and then they both like buy the packet of PJs together, and he takes the pants and she takes the top.
Well, it's serendipity, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which
it is.
like something I also find very magical in terms of like romantic connections with people, or there can often be a serendipity that swirls around you and that person.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, is sometimes when you know, maybe it's a crush or you're actually starting to get into a relationship with someone, and you're like, you just keep bumping into them at certain places, or there are these serendipitous
Moments.
encounters. And I'm just like I am a romantic, and I'm not going to say hopeless romantic because I don't think it's hopeless. I think it's hopeful, but I love all that magic that comes with romance and like chemistry and special connection, where just like the universe is like conspiring to make you and that other person somehow, you know, connect.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Andy. So can you talk us through the most romantic thing that has happened to you, or something maybe that you have done that's really romantic? So let's start actually at what is romance to you? You've explained it a little bit there, but in practice, what does that look like for you?
Oh, I think it's when someone does something for the other person that's very personalised to them.
Yeah.
And it's a gesture that maybe takes a risk, like it's got a level of vulnerability to it. It's kind of like putting yourself out there. So it's making an offer. I think romance is an offer, but that has a certain flavour to it, you know.
Yeah, I like that. I really like
yeah.
that. So do you think then the generic romantic stuff that we are fed via Disney, rom-coms, reality TV, would you say that that's your style of romance, or like you were saying before, it's something personal, something that is really a reflection of the person you're being romantic to?
It's funny, in some ways, of course, I do sometimes think or wish like I was in like a rom-com movie, like, oh, this is going to happen now. Like, I'm walking down the street. It's about to happen. Oh, there's a bus that stopped and someone's stepping off and this is the moment. No, they just walked straight past me. No, but yeah, I think in some ways, like, I mean, obviously Hollywood is Hollywood, and we know it's all in some ways dehumanized because it just kind of glosses over the grit and the clunkiness of romance.
Sure.
So I actually like that about I like the goofy kind of almost slapstick side of romance that Hollywood doesn't necessarily present, like the awkwardness, the discomfort. Like, let's face it, there's a lot of awkwardness and discomfort
At the start, for
like
sure.
Butterflies in the tummy. I actually love all of that. But yeah, there can be a lot of that, and things don't go smoothly. Like,
No, they fucking don't. They
like
really don't.
That first kiss can be a bit clunky, or like I kissed a guy recently and he was like, oh, actually, I just need to get some water. My mouth is a bit dry. And, you know, it just had this beautiful imperfection to the moment that didn't take away from the moment, but just reminded us, like, we are beautifully awkward humans right now, being vulnerable with each other. So I actually love all that stuff, yeah.
So speaking of kisses, what is the worst kiss you've had? Because so there was one date that I went on where the guy just fucking ruined the mood we hadn't kissed yet. This is our second date. And he goes to me, oh, can we hurry up and have our first kiss already? I was like, well, this isn't. Yeah, this is not. He was so nervous, but it came out as quite aggressive and quite. Oh, well, I just want to hurry up and get it over with. The first kiss is so important. The first kiss, like, ignites a lot of, like, love and connection and how your energies feel together. And for someone to just go, can we hurry up and fucking get the kiss done already? First kiss, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is, this isn't going anywhere.
Poor guy. Yeah, there is in some ways a lot riding on the first kiss because it's the first moment you have a sense of what your physical connection is like with that person.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more disappointing than if there's this incredible, sexual drive when you're like in that pre-hookup phase with someone and then you hook
kiss.
Up and it's like,
yeah, you're like, well, that was shit.
You're
yeah.
like, oh, damn it. We're better off in the anticipation phase. So I think a first kiss, it can have a lot attached to it. But again, I don't know, like if I'm really into the person, I'm pretty cool with like, it's okay if it's a bit fumbly and awkward. It can be the same with first time sex with someone there can be a bit of things not working. I mean, other times, wow. But like, what's my worst kiss I've had? Oof, probably it'd be going back to like my days of attending blue light discos.
Oh, blue light discos, yes. They were the best. So bad.
For anyone who doesn't know what a blue light disco is, it's basically discos that teenagers get sent to.
Yes.
And that's run by the local police, basically, hence the blue light.
Yeah.
Blue light disco.
Do they even have them anymore?
I don't know.
I don't reckon they do.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Kids, do they? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, they're all just in Clubhouse or something and on TikTok these days, aren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon had some pretty shocking pashes at the old blue light discos. And the way it used to work there was you'd be awkwardly huddled with your female friends and then the boys would be over the other side of the room not dancing. You can tell by my intonation how much
not dancing.
Yes. Like someone who's not willing to dance. And then awkwardly, the person who liked you wouldn't even approach you to be their mate.
Yes.
Like him be like, hi, see my mate Jace? No, not that one. The other one. No, not that one. The one with the braces next to him. Oh, yeah. He wants to get with you. That's
yeah. He wants to get with you.
That was the phrasing. It was
he
wants to get with you, which is just very unromantic. Like,
it is.
Get with you, and you'd literally take one look. You couldn't even see properly because of all the light, the flashing lights at the disco. And you'd be like, all right.
Sure, mate.
And usually there'd be a kissing wall, so you'd go to a particular wall.
Oh, you guys had a wall.
I don't know. I just remember there was a wall of couples lined up. I mean, couples is a strong word for awkward 13-year-olds, but basically.
I could just picture this wall with 13-year-olds. That's so gross.
And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're neither of us knew what we were doing. And look, often I found, I don't know if it was just my experience, but I dare say it's probably common as a girl / coming into womanhood growing up.
Sure.
I found boys often quite aggressive. And so it could be just like the kiss is like chainsaw tongue getting right in there straight away.
Yeah,
and you're
finding all your tonsils and all that shit.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I found my earlier experiences of just kissing at clubs or, early hookups and that, often had an element of aggression to them, and it was like I wasn't empowered back then, and I really hope it is different these days, and I feel like it is really getting there. I think the way we educate now around gender equality, sexuality and so forth is improving.
It's changing, but we've still got a long way to go.
Totally.
Yeah.
But, like, I just remember just never feeling like I had even the voice
to say
speak
anything.
up and go, dude, like, I want to kiss you, but, like, you don't
slow your roll.
Yeah, you don't have to, like, headbutt me to try to kiss me. Like,
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I wonder where that comes from. I wonder where that comes from. And obviously, like, I can't speak to that because I'm not a dude. So it's interesting that it's like going in for the kill, really.
Yeah. For me, there was a sense that there was always this eagerness, like a bit like your dude with that line, like, got to get in there quick.
You're like, fucking slow down.
Got to get in there quick. And I think, like, yeah, it's funny how we sometimes think things have to be rushed for some reason. Like, oh, well, we just have to get this over with so we're at the next step. But it's like, fuck, let's just
enjoy it.
Enjoy this step. I don't know. Like,
do you feel that has carried through until adulthood? Because I've found probably the last couple of years I've really had to do some... Because I'm not the most patient person in the world. When I see something I like and I want it, I'm like, I want it now.
Yeah.
Like, I still very much...
I can be like that too, totally. Like,
yeah. But it's just, like, I think I've done some, like, self-work on taking that pressure off myself because I'm 35 this year and probably the last 2 years, and because I've been single for such a long time, I've really found... that I've been like, okay, whenever I get with the next person, it's got to be bam, 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 because I'm old now and I don't have this fucking time. So, like, I've like slowed that.
Yeah.
Like, I've taken that right off. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think those kinds of thoughts, like, just come from other places that don't belong to us. Like, there's so much. I mean, it's such a cliche, but it's true. Like, that's what society says constantly. Look, I've come out of a very unique period. So I've just turned 39, like 2 weeks ago.
I would not have thought you were 39.
Yeah, I love it.
Fucking hell, mate.
My casting age is still like 25.
Yeah.
But so I used to always be the, like, heaps of one-night stands, get in there, like, super, like, and I'm a really, like, I love sex. I love the play of sex. I do love if I hook up with someone, like, yeah, I'm quite open and playful, so I love, like, let's just get in there and have full contact. But it's interesting, what has changed for me is I've gone, well, that's one option that you've always done. What about exploring another option that you've not always done?
Sure.
And I find that interesting now to just remind myself there's no hurry for anything. And by saying that, I don't mean, by the way, like, oh, there's rules, like you shouldn't have sex on the first date, whatever. I don't have any rules like that. I'm like, I'll know in the moment what's right. Like, maybe a one-night stand is right tonight, or maybe no, I want to wait, or whatever. Like, I don't believe in rules, but certainly I like to just remind myself there are so many ways that we can have relationships with someone.
Yes.
I used to think just so black and white, like, well, it's either a one-night stand or it's going to be a long-term relationship. There's no in between, there's no nothing else. But it's like, hold on a second. Like, I was chatting with a friend the other day, and we were talking a little bit about asexuality and different types of sexuality, and and just this idea of, like, she's like, well, I have people who I sometimes just, my relationship with them was we just snuggle a lot.
Oh, that's cute.
And, like, that's what's fulfilling for them or whatever. And but I might have someone else who I will actually have sex with or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like, thank you for reminding me. Just there are so many different ways of relating and different options.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that I've come out of a really deep soul-searching experiment with myself. I did 3 years of celibacy.
Oh, wow.
Which shocks a lot of people.
Right.
Because I used to basically be the opposite of that. Yeah, look, part of it was not necessarily by choice. So I have chronic illness, which I said earlier, like is what my show's about. And when I was in the depth of that sickness, I was just so unwell.
Oh, darling.
There wasn't going to be much going out or anything happening. So that was sort of the first phase of it. But then there was a point when I made a conscious choice to sort of continue that. And in a way it matched up with my period of wanting just a bit of hermitude and inward reflection. And I've then re-emerged from that and come out of that period of celibacy just at the start of this year.
Right.
So I've started having sex again and connecting with people again on intimate levels. And it has made it so much more, I don't know, pleasurable, meaningful. I feel so much more conscious when I'm doing it, like I'm really considering what I'm doing, but also not overthinking it. I just feel so much freer. It's
that's
been a
beautiful.
Really fascinating journey, and one that I never would have, like, even in my early 30s, never would have seen myself as doing, but am really glad I did. And there were periods where, I mean, I was really horny at times and like tempted to just get out there, you know. And I'm really glad for that period. It just served me well to be like, no, let's just ride this out. I'm going to just be with myself and learn the lessons I need to learn, and not try and like patch up my wounding or whatever by just a quick hookup or whatever. So I really broke a lot of patterns.
That's amazing.
Through that massive container of space I held for myself during those 3 years.
That's really powerful. That sounds like a massive, beautiful gift that you gave yourself, Andi.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was. And it's I was a little shy at first of telling people that's what I was doing, because I just sort of thought, I don't know. Yeah, again, I thought stigma, like, celibacy, I don't know. I was like, people will think I'm religious, or people think this or that or whatever.
But really, that doesn't matter.
Whatever, yeah. And I'm like, actually, yeah, it's just, I'm really fascinated. I think it also just aligns with my increasing fascination with, like, spiritual practices and extreme things, like experimenting with like water fasts and long meditations and plant medicines, and I don't know, just different things that push the body to certain extremes, or are practices of withholding from something in order for you to just have to deal with all the bullshit that comes up in your head when you don't have that thing, basically. Like,
right. Yeah.
You know, it's that thing of like, whatever the thing is you think you can't live without it for a week and then see what happens. Yeah.
So
know?
Did you find through different stages of your cycle in that 3-year period that you were really affected in ways that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I mean, definitely I was like, there were times I was really lonely. Because like, I was like, for someone like me who's very physical, very tactile.
Right.
I was like not having any of that, and then obviously last year through COVID, wasn't even hugging. You know what I mean? I was in Melbourne for all of that too, so there were the hardcore lockdowns where, you know, wasn't even really physically around other people, wasn't hugging at all. Again, really fascinating to go through that, because it was just like there was a lot of deep loneliness and grief that I went through. Of feeling disconnected, but the extraordinary thing was I came through that and out the other side. Just, I don't know, I just seemed to clear a lot. I cleared a lot of my need for having to have someone else.
Interesting.
Which, don't get me wrong, like that's still, I get tested on that all the time. Like that still comes up for me, because I think I spent so much of growing up and all my adulthood relationship years feeling like I needed to always be in a relationship.
Interesting.
I needed always to have someone else.
Yes.
To feel validated. Like,
so do you think that comes
I was that
from
person.
Right, do you think that comes from external sources? Because I know my nonna on my mum's side, she was very much, as I got older, if you are not attached and loved by somebody like a significant other, then you don't have any worth. Whereas my dad's mum, my nonna on my dad's side, she was always like, don't settle. Wait. don't settle. So it was interesting, even though they were both Italian and they both came from that very traditional, both born in Italy. And Nonna Bianca on my mum's side was actually here since she was 3 years old, whereas my dad's mother, she came here in her 20s, but she was the one saying, don't settle. And the one that was here for the longer period of time was like, settle.
Yeah,
and you are worth nothing if you don't have somebody. So do you think that was an external?
I think it's both. I think it's inevitable that, that growing up, through the 80s and 90s and all the magazines I read, all the movies I saw, I think that was inevitable that there was that messaging, and that messaging is still very strong.
Yeah. In South Australia, fucking hell, it's very strong, yeah.
So I think definitely. But look, if I'm honest, I also think it has a lot to do with just my personal circumstances growing up. So having a father who abruptly left when I was 17 and being estranged from him for 10 years, for me that just played a huge role in then feeling abandoned and unloved, and then trying to patch that up, fill that hole by just constantly finding other men, boyfriends or whatever, and thinking, well, and not that I ever thought about this in any logical, conscious way, because it's always only years later and after fuck tons of therapy that you look back and go, oh, that's what I was trying to do.
Yes.
I was trying to, fill that hole in my heart. And so for me, it's a combination of, totally like it was a society thing. And then also just, personal family circumstances, feeling like, I wanted to seek love externally by seeking partnership. And then my thing was always like latching on and not being able to let go.
Right.
And constantly being in fear that they would leave me.
Oh, honey.
Which was a
reflection.
From,
yes.
It was actually nothing to do with that person.
Correct.
And everything to do with just trauma I hadn't dealt with at that time. But again, I've just worked through so much of that, and now I just notice, when I'm connecting with people or potential partners or anything that's going on at the moment, I just have this curiosity about me that's like a lot more open and having less expectation of it having to be a certain thing or a certain way.
And just letting it be.
Or having to need. The neediness thing is really reduced for me, which is...
That's good. That's freeing.
Really fucking empowering. But I still love partnership. And and I love play as well. I love lovers. Yeah.
And that's gorgeous.
I love the idea of a lover, you know.
Yeah. And there's a very distinct difference between a lover and a partner. Whenever I hear somebody call their significant other a partner, for me, it reduces it to like a business-like relationship.
We have a contract.
Oh, we have a contract. This is how it is. I love it when people refer to their significant others as my better half or my lover or, something that signifies the special union between the two of them. Partner just sounds like white bread, like white toast to me.
Well, labels, of course, are a funny thing because we all like and dislike different labels. So, for example, I'm not really into my better half, and I don't even anymore like the idea of the two halves. Like, you complete me.
Oh, fuck, no.
You complete. Two halves make a whole. I'm like, no. I want someone who's already a whole person because I am, and that's a bonus.
Yeah, it's a team.
We had two holes. But
I'm with you.
I don't have a problem with the word partner. It's interesting. I feel like partner became trendy at a certain point, though.
It did.
Like, it was a new thing, and it was like,
yeah.
I would always refer to someone as like a girlfriend or boyfriend, and then maybe I'd be like, oh, they're my partner.
Yes.
And maybe that was the point where we'd moved in together, or like something more serious.
A serious tone, yes.
Something serious had kicked in. We were now like scrubbing Tupperware side by side every night, and so they became my partner.
Sure, yeah.
So I get it with a partner. I get what you're saying. But I don't know, in a way I like it because it can stand in for any type of relationship, you know. And particularly because it's sort of a gender-neutral term. I quite like that as well.
Yes.
As opposed to boyfriend, girlfriend. Not that any of that matters, but it's just kind of cool. It's like it could be anything, anyone. anything. Let's not.
Anyone, yes. I know what you're saying.
know what I'm talking
I know
about.
what you mean. If we're talking about
Humans.
people, yeah.
This isn't that show, is it?
No. Bestiality
That's the
isn't.
other
Yeah,
podcast.
no.
Yes. No.
So it's really interesting what you touched on before about filling the void of abandonment before with relationships. So from what I understand from my own life experience with my mum abandoning me, and she's no longer in my life. So around the time of her abandonment, there was definitely a realization that I did not have a healthy sense of self-worth or self-respect, and therefore I attracted men into my life, one in particular who I dated that was real toxic for me and just echoed the lack of self-love and the things that I didn't like about myself he would focus on and make me feel worse about. So I've begun to realise that self-worth, self-respect, how we see ourselves, how we treat ourselves is really an example of how other people will reflect that and the people that we attract into your hemisphere.
I am with you 100% and can very much relate. And it's a hard, it's a hard swallow to pill. It's a hard pill to swallow in many ways because, and we have to be careful when we're talking about things like abusive relationships.
Correct.
Which I have been in myself because, of course, there's always a line of, well, that person is doing the abusing.
Yes.
But, yes, I am with you insofar as, we call in our mirrors, basically, and, those people come our way to basically highlight to us the places in which we are not free at that point in our lives and the areas we need to work on. And I totally agree with you. As my investment in self has raised, as that bar has raised for me, like, my self-worth, my self-respect, my self-love has massively increased. The kinds of people who are coming into my sphere have just been at another whole level.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. And that's a new thing for me in the last few years.
Yes.
Very new thing. Yes, I had a lot of toxicity abuse and all sorts of things I won't get into the depths of, but things that when I look back, I go, wow, that it's fucked up to say, but in a way I enabled that in some ways. But I'm also very compassionate for myself because I was literally the victim.
Yes.
But it's like there was a part of me that just, thought of myself as so worthless.
Oh, honey.
That I put up with that because I thought, well,
this is what I deserve.
This is as good as it's going to get for me. And it's funny because I chatted to a guy last night, who I recently hooked up with, and we were talking about stuff, and I said, I just happened to say in passing, like, oh yeah, former me would have done this in this moment. You know, I used to be a doormat. And he laughed because I think he actually almost couldn't believe it because he only knows the person I am now.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And I sort of stopped and I was almost like, oh, that's kind of good that he's laughing because it's like, wow, someone can't believe it about me now. But I then stopped and said to him, oh no, I really was a doormat. Really. And my friends and those who very much rescued me around that time will will witnessed that firsthand. And look, it's a very common experience across all genders, but I think in particular for women, it seems the way it seems to manifest in relationships that are toxic is just at this level that's feels way more dangerous and way more vulnerable and
correct
and just
correct.
At another level of living and operating and at a level of survival every day. That's in many ways I look back and go, that's
how did I do that?
How was it that I was living
like that
on those kinds of eggshells? But I do think and it's like self-love is such a term that gets the shit hashtagged out of it. We see it talked about so much. And but I do think it's a very important thing for us to be investing in and focusing on. And I actually think that my 3 years of celibacy is what it took for me to like fill that cup of self-love again. I needed 3 whole fucking years of not even holding someone's hand. Like that's what it took. Like,
yeah, that space and that peace and that time to bring yourself back to yourself. Yeah.
Because I just notice now that I just notice red flags much earlier, and I take action on the red flags much earlier.
And you can feel them.
Yeah.
For me, it resonates in my body.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have the fucking time. I don't have the time. I don't want to waste somebody else's time. I don't want to waste my time.
Yes.
If there's a red flag, even if it's like a pink flag, that's still enough for me to go, yeah, nah. Yeah, that's still enough. That's still enough for me to take a couple of steps back. Now, and red flags, pink flags, and that colour spectrum of flags is not we're talking about things that would definitely not be right in our lives. It's not us talking about, oh, well, I don't like the colour of their shoes. That's not a red flag or a pink flag.
They have red flags painted on their shoes.
Yeah. That's okay.
See, for me, I'd be like, oh, that's attractive. They've got red flags on their shoes. That is so fucking cool. Red flags on a shoe is a white flag for me. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. You were making a really valid and excellent point, and I am trashing it.
No, it's fine. No.
But I agree with you. I know exactly what you mean. There's a difference between like I've got some judgment on something, or I just have a particular taste, versus.
Oh, this doesn't feel right.
There's a behaviour there, and I'm feeling it on an energetic level, and it's not making me feel fully safe and comfortable.
Correct.
And I think the cool thing is when you're at that point, there's this great room to manoeuvre and be like, I'm like, I hover in that now, and I'm like, cool, I've noticed that. I'm going to allow that person to show me that, maybe, we all make mistakes, we can deserve a second chance, whatever. I'm going to allow that person to show me behaviour that either sort of course corrects that red flag, or we have like, I'm all into these like conscious conversations these days. I'm like, let's talk about this. And if they're just not up for that, then I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. Then we're not right. That's a 100% red flag. Let's just not go there. But sometimes I'm like, there's a willingness, because I'm not perfect either.
Yeah, no one is.
I'm going to be bringing shit to someone else as well, that they're going to be like, hey, the way you do this, I don't find that great. So I always find like, wow, actually it can be cool if something goes wrong, and wrong's probably the wrong term, but like, wrong's the wrong term. Oh, God. Language,
I know what you mean.
But sometimes I find if there is is a sort of imperfection, or like a clunk, that can be amazing space to just go, oh, well, this is a testing ground for what it might be like if I am in a relationship with that person, because at some point we're going to have an argument, we're not going to agree on something,
we're not going to agree,
something's going to go wrong. So let's see how we deal with that. Are we both up for communication about that? Can the thing just be amended and then we move on?
Or do we hold on to it? Or
how do we deal with that? Because if it can't be dealt with, then cool, I'm out of here probably.
Yeah, see you later.
That thing of like, there's no point wasting time,
Exactly. So, as we get older, if the person, and you touched on this before, if the person's not even up for communicating about something that doesn't feel quite right, then they can just fuck right off. Like it's just not going to work. I've had my 2 serious relationships as an adult were both with boys. I will say boys, not men. Yeah. Boys, and then I dated somebody who was also a boy. who were just not up for the communication. They just did not. And look, there were stages where I wasn't at my best with my communication because I wasn't as self-aware, and I wouldn't have been able to bring things to the table in a way that was palatable and not something that made them defensive straight away. Yeah. And I've learnt to polish my communication skills and bring things to the table that...
I think empathy is a big one.
Yes.
When you're calling someone out on something.
Yes, that's right.
It's that fine line between standing firm and calling out the behaviour.
That's right.
But allowing for some empathy of like, okay, cool, I'll often think to myself, can I relate to this situation?
Yes.
I might be like, oh, shit, I have actually been in this situation like 4 years ago. So I know how it feels, but I want you to know I'm not okay with it.
Yeah, it doesn't sit right with me anymore. Yeah. And there's ways in which you can bring things to the table, but I can tell you that it is so liberating when somebody says, like, that you're dating or whatever, says to you, you can bring anything to the table. Anything's up for discussion. There is room for both of us to be heard here. Oh, my goodness. What is happening? Because that is such a stark... dramatic difference to what I have experienced, not only in romantic relationships, but in my own existence as a family member and being part of a family unit. I definitely have had stages of not being heard at all by anybody, and then having someone go, you can bring anything to the table, is just like, okay, what?
It's amazing, isn't it? These people do exist.
They do.
I didn't think they actually existed.
Neither did I, but they do.
They fucking exist.
They do.
And it is amazing because you're like, oh, shit, this is what a real adult relationship looks like and feels like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think because you and I, from what I understand about you, we are both like that. We are both open for discussions about anything. We bring that openness and love and empathy to the table. And to have it reciprocated is like a massive gift, whereas that should be the baseline. That should be how it always goes. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. It's a great space to play in. Because anything is possible in that realm. And it's like, yeah, again, I have an interest in the discomfort because I'm like, oh, this is where the juice is. This is where the juice is. And like, yeah, this is where I get to really... Am I brave enough to really be me?
Yes.
And am I brave enough to really see who you are?
Yes. Yes.
Because, like, I've said I'm up for it now, Andy.
Oh, and here it is.
It's like, shit, that's the thing, too, when you start to, like, when you start to call that in and then you receive it, you're like, whoa.
Okay.
I got to...
What do I do with this?
Okay.
Yes. So do you have any parting words of wisdom?
Love is always there for the taking.
Really? Yeah, right.
I feel like that's it. It's very simple. We often forget that love is with us at all times. And I have to say that to remind myself too, because I can forget it. Yeah, like it's awesome to receive love externally, but you're never really going to feel it unless it's there internally. So,
oh, nice.
I think it's good to almost train yourself to tap into your love that's going on internally as much as you can. And it's always there, even when it feels like it isn't. It is actually there. Yeah.
That's gorgeous, Andi.
And I know that when you're not feeling that, you want to punch someone like me in the face. I say that because I know I've been in that place where I'm like, oh, listen to some fucking podcast the other day. Oh, this bloody chick, she's an artist. She's really spiritual. She's talking about, like, conscious relationships. Oh, my God. She said, like, love is always there for the taking. Like, just tune into yourself. What a wanker. So I get that. If you're in that place, like,
that's okay.
Full power to you. I know that place. But what I also do now know as well is, even when it feels like it's not there, it actually is. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Andi. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I've loved it. It's been excellent.
Thanks for holding space for it. Thanks for creating the vibes.
Thanks for coming on. I've loved it.
Me too. Thanks heaps.
The Catchalorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Catchalorette and friends. See you next time if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.